Diaries of a Madman. By What Must I Do? Chapter 194. Part 2 of 3. We actually didn't get very far, only ending up inside the house. Specifically, Taya's bedroom. She was currently staring out the window. I was next to her, so I followed her gaze. At the moment, she was staring at my shirtless past self, who was sparring with the Naga. Daddy doesn't love me enough. Bullshit, I immediately said. Not like he loves other mares. He's always so happy to give them all the time of day and night. But not his precious little filly. Oh no, he refuses to even touch her. She isn't good enough. That literally had nothing at all to do with what I told her. Was she just not even listening? This heat is awful. What Doppel showed me helped, but I know Daddy could quench the fire I feel. He could make me feel amazing if he just loved me right. What do the other mares have that I don't? I'm his filly. I'd do whatever he wanted me to. I was really hoping I wouldn't have to see any of this, I sighed, shaking my head. Why are you so thirsty for my human dick? I just want to feel your touch, Daddy. I know it feels good when it's done right. I know you could make me feel like the best filly in the world, if you only loved me enough. What will it take? I've already dedicated myself to you. I've already killed for you. Why won't you even give me a chance? She finally started crying, presumably in frustration. I sighed and hugged her. Because what we want isn't always what's best for us. If I had ever done it, I never could have forgiven myself for the damage it would have done to you. Were you ever tempted? Reason asked. Not even for a second, I immediately answered. It was absolutely true, too. No part of me ever wanted to touch Taya inappropriately. I'll find a way, Daddy. It will happen. You will love me just as much as those other mares. I'll become the best destruction mage in the world. I'll hunt down all your enemies until it's just you and me. And in the end, you'll realize you don't need those other mares anyway. All you ever needed was a loving filly raised from the beginning to be the perfect bride for Daddy, if you'd only just get over yourself. Wow! I decided to let her go, because it looked like one of her hooves was about to do something very inappropriate. Thankfully, the memory stopped before she could start. Well, I'm honestly happy she never mentioned the bride thing. That would have been pretty awkward. Compared to what, exactly? Reason asked. I mean. Fuck. What's the lesson here? I need some way to fix this. There might not be a way to fix it, Reason said. At least, not while Taya is still affected by your pull. I've already told her that it'll never happen, I said. It's more important for her to understand it now than ever, since she's immortal. Have you considered the potential upsides? Reason asked. No, and I'm not going to. I don't care if potential upsides might include regrowing my penis, I'm not molesting my filly. Oh. Then I guess I'm not really needed here. I hadn't actually looked around, so I glanced back just in time for Reason to disappear. That left me with fear and love. Was she seriously just here to try to talk me into that? I ask. Reason cares little for emotion or sentiment, Love said. If she suspected there were positives to sleeping with your filly, she would be quick to point them out. Well, there aren't any. So how can I fix this? Can I just love her enough or something? Loving her more is exactly what she wants, Fear said. I refuse to believe that's love. Which is, of course, correct, Love replied. Obviously giving in to your filly's desires would only make the issue worse. Step 1 will be getting rid of the pull she feels. That has likely done the most to make her feel this way. How sure are you that's true? I ask. We don't really see any kind of root for that desire here. I'd like to think it's just my pull and not how badly I fucked up as a parent, but... Step 2 will be cutting off the belly rubs and ear scratches, Love said. There is nothing wrong with holding your filly, but rubbing her is unusual. And since it's very likely she enjoys your touch a lot more than she should, minimizing contact would help. It'll hurt to deny her, but if I must. It's a shame that scaring her straight didn't work, Fear sighed. All it did was make her hide it better. For a while, until Aqua let her become immortal. Then the mask started slipping. I didn't want to spank her, but I couldn't let her just give me an ultimatum. Parenting is never an easy endeavor, Love said. Mistakes are common. Both of those are true statements, but I honestly don't think they apply to me, I said. I spent too long looking for every excuse I could find to avoid spending time with her. I never wanted to be a parent, and when it was forced on me, instead of stepping up to the plate and actually putting in the effort, I scorned the entire thing. She was broken when I got her and I did nothing to help put her back together. Now I'm facing the consequences of all my terrible decisions. Taya is effectively immortal. She is incredibly powerful. She has been touched by discord. She wants to sleep with me. She is a complete and total manipulative brat who I have taught to use adorableness and lies to get her way. Every memory involving Taya so far has told me that I deserve every bit of misery that she is going to bring me in the coming years. But all the same, she doesn't deserve this fate, and she never did. Is this fixable? One person cannot fix another, Love said, reaching over to place a hoof on my shoulder. My guide snatched the hoof away before it could touch me. Love snorted and rolled her eyes, placing the hoof back down. Taya's behavior is being rewarded. Why would she ever bother changing? That is true. I sighed and fell onto Taya's bed. I'm done hiding from it. I'm done kicking the can down the road. When I get out of this coma, I'm telling Taya everything I just told you. And then we're going to iron out rules going forward, rules that we are both going to follow. This toxicity between us is unsustainable. I'm sure she knows it just as much as I do, by now. Right now, she's terrified, Fear said. She knows that you would have stopped her, if Aqua hadn't slithered in. Instead of addressing it with her, you just brushed it aside. I've spent so much time moving and doing that I haven't really had time to think, I said. Although I feel if I had. Well, we can talk about the present when we get there. What's the takeaway here? You spelled it out better than we could, my guide replied with a shrug. You're getting good at figuring it out. I've known all along. You're just forcing me to confront it. I finally groaned and stood back up. Shall we continue? The guide's eyes flashed and off we went. Once again, we didn't go that far. The only difference is that the green grass had been replaced by trodden down snow, and now we were in the front yard. Celestia was there, along with a few guard squads and the elements of harmony. This is after Luna's rave, I said. When she found out about Flo and had the overreaction to end all overreactions. And tried to rape you, Fear said. Yeah, that too. This is also when I told Celestia about Flo and showed her the laptop. I honestly forgot the girls were here. The only one who bothered to talk to me afterwards was Dash. Why are we here, Princess? Past Twilight asked. What did Nav do this time? If Shiny's here and you're taking his axe, it had to be really bad. Be at ease, Twilight, Celestia said with a grin. Nav is not in trouble. Luna uncovered a secret of his that he thought quite safe. They had a disagreement about how to move forward. It almost devolved into blows at the party, but Nav left before it could get ugly and asked me to mediate. The guards are solely here as a matter of protocol. Why were both guard captains here? Rainbow Dash asked. Captain Midnight was inside. Because both guard captains happen to be friends of his, Celestia replied. Captain Midnight wanted to ensure he did not do anything rash. Captain Shining wanted to see what all the fuss was about and to see his sister before returning. What secret did Luna discover? Fluttershy asked. And why did it upset Nav so much? Navarrone's secrets are for Navarrone to discuss, Celestia replied. Though two of you already know the answer, I believe. Wait, did it involve time? Twilight asked. Make that three of you, Celestia said, her smile taking a hit. I assumed you, of Annaponi, would have come to me as soon as you learned. Navarrone's secrets are for Navarrone to discuss, Twilight replied with a shrug. Burn! I shouted, shooting my hands in the air. Not when it involves him lying to my face, Celestia said. He told me there was nothing I need to be concerned about. What he showed me concerns me greatly. Now I'm even more curious. Pinky groaned. Three of you need to fess up. Nav's journals are hidden better now, so I can't keep up. I'm siding with Twilight, Applejack said. Nav's secrets are his own. Though I'm gonna wonder where those seeds of his came from forever. Nav has good reasons not to trust Annaponi, Fluttershy quietly said. It's no wonder he remains as tight-lipped as possible. As it happens, I'm afraid I brought all of you out here for nothing, Celestia said. I thought I might need you all to help calm Nav down, but Luna has conceded the issue. So, why are you taking his axe? Twilight asked. Celestia's horn lit up brighter and the thing vanished. He has a magic sword, Twilight. Why would he need an axe? Now, I'm afraid I must return to Canterlot. I have a few more things to discuss with Luna before she retires for the day. Can we speak to Nav? Dash asked. I believe he plans to go to bed soon, but I'm sure he would be happy to talk. Dash immediately started trotting to the door, but Twilight grabbed her tail with magic. Just a moment, Rainbow Dash. Why would Luna finding out about this lead them to almost coming to blows? Nav is her knight. That is exactly what I need to discuss with Luna. Nav may prefer violence as his primary solutions in some situations, but not against ponies. That means she instigated it. I intend to find out why. Is she, okay? Rarity asked. Some of what Nav has said, worries me. No. No, she is not. Farewell for now, girls. Celestia finally started walking to the gates. I'm sure the others probably had plenty more questions, but she was quite obviously not in the mood to answer them. Twilight sighed, released Dash, and started following Celestia out. Dash grabbed the closest one to her, which happened to be Fluttershy, and started dragging her inside. Applejack rolled her eyes and joined Twilight. Rarity seemed conflicted before magicking a watch out. When she read the time, her eyes widened and she made it vanish before joining the exodus to the gate. Pinky grinned and skipped over next to Twilight. So what kind of time secrets does Navi have? That grayed everything out, finally pausing the dream. It's amazing how well Celestia was able to word that, I said. She's a straight-up professional. A professional bitch, Fear replied. I finally turned around to look. It was actually just her. You didn't really feel much but fear during this whole thing. That's because it was fucking terrifying. So aside from the fact that only a single one of my friends cared to verify what Celestia said with me, what's the takeaway here? Oh, we aren't quite done yet, Fear said. She reached up to caress my face and we jumped to another vision, this time in Luna's room. It was just her and Celestia. Celestia was pissed. Luna's face was strangely blank and she wasn't meeting her sister's eyes. Do you understand what you have done? Celestia coldly asked. You drove it in quite clearly this morning, Luna quietly replied. Celestia's horn lit up and my axe appeared. She didn't bother to hold it, so it fell to the floor with a clatter. Navarrone is finished with you, Luna. Completely and utterly. This is what comes from pretending to be me just to get in his pants. Luna's eyes finally met her sister's. I was pretending to be you to show him that I could be something other than the monster he sees. And yet it was for naught. You didn't learn your lesson after he almost stood you up? That's literally exactly why he did it. You will never win the affections of any pony, anything with lies, Luna. It seems to work pretty well for the two of us, dearest sister. Or did you learn how to actually move the sun in my absence? I'm loving these sick burns. I said. Do not give voice to such things. It's only a matter of time before Nav tells every pony. We both know it, sister. Navarone prefers his skin attached to his body. He has published a few books I told him were not allowed, but none of the more egregious ones. There is one redeeming thing we discovered from your latest debacle, at least. And what is that? Luna bitterly asked. That Navarone is willing to go on a date with me. If I can manage to wrap him around my hoof before his date of departure, perhaps I can convince him to stay. You expect me to recoil from the blow. I know you well enough for that, at least. Yet all I feel is, numb. I do not think I have ever seen Nav, angry with me. Yet the look on his face when he saw me for who I was. After the shock passed, it was pure rage, sister. I have accomplished that which we once thought impossible, and in doing so, I have ruined any chance of reconciliation. Nav said you knew about this. Flo, the fake intelligence in his head. Why did you not tell me? I suspected he had become corrupt, as I was. As I am, it seems. I was hoping to help him before banishment became necessary, but I wasn't sure how to broach the subject with him. Which is why you should have come to me. What did I tell you about these things, Luna? That I could do as I pleased as long as I let you know to clean up after me. That was over 6,000 years ago, Luna. You are no longer a little filly. Truly, it amazes me that you tried leading a coup. What were you expecting to do if you won, Luna? Try to rule this empire all by yourself? The entire thing would go belly up overnight. You have to think these things through. Luna's horn lit up and 3 massive books appeared, each seemingly ancient. I actually wrote up all the plans for my new government well in advance. Navarone found them while scouring the castle in the Everfree for the Dream Machine. It would have been a strong military dictatorship with emphasis on public service, community, and aggressive expansion. I had timelines drawn up for multiple wars that would have eradicated several problem species that still plague us to this day, like the changelings, dogs, and griffins. My projection is that by now, there would only be 3 factions left: ponies, dragons, and all those who swore to obey us as vassal races. Instead, you destroyed about 70% of Equestria's entire military force with a comet. They were not Equestria's military force. They were traitors who died in rebellion and obscurity. Count yourself lucky that I waited until I knew you were gone. I would have rather died with my soldiers in Ponero than live imprisoned on the moon for 1,000 years under the heel of a tyrant. Celestia took a deep breath and slowly let it out. We cannot allow Nav to come between us, Luna. Then stop using his affections like a weapon against me. Have I not suffered enough for my transgressions? What? Celestia blurted out. Luna, how have you suffered since you returned? You raped Navarone at least once. Probably more times than that, if I had to guess. You've mistreated him, lied to him, hurt him, and brought all kinds of misery upon him. And your only punishment for any of it was a requirement that you stay in Canterlot. A requirement that you have repeatedly broken, I might add. How many times did you ferry Nav to the moon? Or secretly visit him in Ponyville? You have ruined a relationship with an extremely capable ally with your actions, Luna. He is no longer a knight and I couldn't even convince him to become an umbral. So tell me exactly how you're suffering, Luna. Because to me, it looks like all you've done is cause it. I have to go without his touch while you lord it over me. So your reply to the list of all the horrible things you've done to Nev is that because you no longer get to hold him, you're the victim. What did you expect to happen to him when you forced me to befriend him at all costs? I expected you to befriend him? Not rape him. Not torture him. What were you even thinking? That I had finally found one strong enough to withstand my love, That's psychotic. Celestia and I both yelled at the same time. I actually wanted to high-hoof her, but I couldn't reach across time. All throughout my life, that is what loving you has felt like, Celestia. I loved Nav exactly the way you showed me how to. Celestia sighed and reached up to rub her temple. I'm afraid I'll have to delve into Nav's subspeak for this one. She set her hoof back down and glared her sister down. Luna, you are a grown-ass mare. Act like it. Let your obsession for Nav go. He is forever lost to you now. Not forever, Luna coldly said. He left me one out. I was watching, sister. I knew you would twist his words. He said he'll forgive me if I confess. He said he might. And from the look on his face when he said it, I wouldn't get your hopes up. It is a chance. It is the only chance. It is suicide and I won't allow it. If I cannot hold him in my hooves, then life isn't worth living. Celestia blinked a few times before sighing and shaking her head. This has gone on long enough. I forbid it. I forbid any mention of Nav. He is dead to you, as you are to him. That is the end of it, Luna. Luna smirked and her horn lit up. You have no power in my room, Celestia. Hundreds of hidden runes carved into the walls suddenly lit up and Celestia completely froze. Luna trotted forward and pressed her horn against her sister's head. Everything I am thanks to you, dearest sister. After what I assumed was some memory modification, Luna stepped back and the light around her horn vanished. Just like that, all the runes vanished. A few seconds later, Celestia blinked. Luna, are you sure? If you tell every pony, you can still recover from Nightmare Moon. You can still be my little sister, Princess of the Night. But if you tell every pony what happened with Nav, it will be forever lost to you. I am positive, Luna said with a nod. Well then. I hope Navarone appreciates your determination. Many stallions would kill for a mare who would stop at nothing for their heart. Everything will fall into place, Celestia, Luna said with a smile. You'll see. Soon, my precious human will forgive me and all will be well again. That memory finally vanished, putting us back in my courtyard. It was not all well again, I said, crossing my arms. So, Luna was told that Celestia would clean up her messes 6,000 years ago, Fear said. And she tried trotting that excuse out twice. We're dealing with someone who has some very serious mental illnesses. I know what happened to me when Flo cured my depression, so I'm hesitant to suggest having an elemental just fix her, but all the evidence I've seen is damning. She has way too much power and knowledge to be running around with this kind of mental damage. You have been adamant about not using the elementals to force anything on your followers, my guide said. Are you changing your mind? No. I can't force anything on Luna. I'm going to talk to Blaze and Char and see if either would be willing to take her as a host. I believe I can talk her into it. A fire wouldn't be able to completely change her overnight, but he would be able to keep her in check so she can't hurt anyone or do anything stupid. You can't just keep assigning your incredibly powerful, useful servants as babysitters, Fear said. I can when the baby they're sitting is considerably more powerful and useful, with the wonderful addition of a lifetime of emotional abuse and horrors. Especially when combined, they'd make an even more formidable team. I saw how well Blaze and Luna worked together in the ship at the bunker. I'd like to see how they'd do given an army. And Flo isn't babysitting Taya, she's just making sure Taya doesn't do something absolutely fucktard when given direct access to my brain. Which, given what I've seen in the comas so far, was actually pretty likely. So what do you take away from this, my guide asked. That I don't want to trust myself alone with Luna. She is everything Celestia was. The only difference is that she feels the pull so strongly that she chose to obey rather than doing everything in her power to control. The thing is, if this is how she chose to obey Celestia, I'm curious when or if she'll ever try it on me. Celestia hurt her again and again, Fear said. And Luna struck out. Unfortunately, you were her target. Nobody is debating that Luna is a victim. But that doesn't change the fact that she's probably the most dangerous person on the continent right now. Between sheer magical strength, combat potency, and her mental instability, she could crack in a heartbeat and go on an unstoppable rampage. Flo will put a bug in Char's ear about approaching Luna, my guide said. I'll do it when I get out. I want to talk to everyone first. I doubt Luna will go for it until I do. So what's the real takeaway here? That you don't want to trust yourself alone with Luna, Fear said. She is everything Celestia was. Of course. Also, all of your friends in Ponyville knew something bad happened between you and Luna, but only Rainbow Dash thought to push you for more information, or check to see if you were okay. That's to be expected. It's what comes from being a depressed asshole for most of my time here. Are you prepared to move on? My guide asked. Sure, why not? Her eyes flashed and we jumped further forward. We appeared in a heavily junglified version of Rarity's boutique. Twilight and all 5 of her favorite friends were there. Rarity looked concerned. Twilight looked at peace. Pinkie seemed depressed. The others were confused. Why did you bring us all here? Rainbow Dash asked, looking over at Rarity. Have you read today's paper? Rarity quietly asked. Whoever bothers with that? Dasha flippantly asked. Rarity's horn lit up and the paper appeared on the ground between them all, facing Dash. On the front cover was a picture of Luna during the speech, alongside a picture of my horrified face right before I fled. The title was Historic Confession of Vile Misdeeds. Dash immediately snatched it and started reading. Her eyes immediately shot wide open. It's awful. Rarity moaned, actually bursting into tears. Luna's a monster. She did such terrible things to him. That explains things, Twilight said. I was wondering why they left early. The paper fell from Dash's hooves and she shot forward, getting all up in Twilight's face. What do you mean, left? And what do you mean, early? Twilight's horn lit up and Dash got forced away. I've been privy to some of what's been going on with Nav. He told me he was leaving and that if I told anybody else, he'd be gone the next day without a word. He was planning to leave when it came time for the party, but I guess he wanted to get out ahead of the news. He did leave a note for you, though, Pinkie said, pulling it out of her hair. Dash got all up in Pinkie's personal bubble just long enough to snatch the note. How did you know? Dash demanded. And why did he leave it with you but not tell me? I saw the airship coming while on the way to watch Taya sleep, Pinkie said with a shrug. Then I saw Nav packing up. He gave me the note right before leaving. Why were you going to watch a little filly sleep? Applejack asked. I hadn't noticed, but at some point, she had grabbed the paper. Fluttershy was reading it over her shoulder and silently crying. I watch every pony sleep. It would be weird if I didn't include Taya, too. This note is worthless. Dash yelled, throwing it to the ground. It doesn't say where he's going, when he'll be back, or if he'll bring me any cool souvenirs. So, Nav is gone, Twilight said. Where is Anypony's guess? He refused to tell me. Spike went with him. Spiky Wikey is gone. Rarity shrieked, lunging at Twilight. Thankfully, Twilight shut that shit down hard and tossed Rarity onto one of her ridiculous lounge chair things so she could sob dramatically somewhere else. He felt he didn't have any reason to stay, Twilight said. He told me a few months ago, after Nav got hurt. I had a lot of talks with him about it and I honestly can't disagree with him. He is a dear friend and always will be, but his place isn't in Equestria. He'll outgrow us all in time. It's better that he meet dragons that he can start a family with. And what about Nav? Applejack asked, finally just hoofing the paper to Fluttershy. Why did he leave? Are you seriously asking that? Dash asked. You read that paper. All right, let me rephrase that, then. Where could he even go? There ain't nothing out there. That's observably false, Twilight said. Nav has done a very good job of teaching me that there is more outside of Equestria than I ever knew. The Griffin Kingdom is massive and powerful. The changeling hives are scary and exotic. The Kingdom of Cats is brutal and hedonistic. And right now, Nav is welcome in all of them. Given his treatment here, I'm surprised he didn't leave sooner. So, what do we do now? Dash slowly asked. There's nothing we can do, Twilight said. I mean, theoretically, I could teleport him back. But if I did, he would probably be extremely upset. Do it! Dash yelled. Oh no, I don't think you understand. By extremely upset, I mean the first thing he would do is draw his sword. He made it very clear that he was leaving, period, and that any attempts to stop it would end extremely poorly. So I have a slightly better question, Applejack said. What are we supposed to do about this? She reached around and pointed to the newspaper, still held in Fluttershy's trembling hooves. Something's rotten in Canterlot. We're the elements of harmony. Ain't it our duty to do something about this? I'm down for ruining Luna's day. Dash yelled. After everything she's done, she deserves it. There, might be a slight problem, Fluttershy quietly said. What's that? Dash asked. We can take her. It says here. Princess Celestia knew the whole time. Twilight's horn lit up and the paper flew over in front of her. She quickly skimmed past all the fun stuff about Luna to read the tiny little footnote at the bottom. Oh. Oh no. I'll never wonder why he lies again, Applejack said. And I forgive him of almost all of them. If you can't trust Princess Celestia, you can't trust Annapony. That doesn't make sense, Dash said. How could Celestia have known? She would have summoned us to deal with her. Twilight looked over to Rarity, who had mostly recovered from the fact that her personal dragon slave had departed. Rarity, would you like to tell the others about our trip to Detrot? I would, but I wasn't there. What does this have to do with? Wait, yes you were. I was not, Rarity said. Though my body was, with Navarone inside of it. Wait, what? Applejack said. I know a fun little spell that allows two ponies, or a pony and a human to trade bodies, Rarity said. Nav and I made a bet and swapped to see if Annapony would notice. While the mayor was attempting to rape him in my body, I was actually being raped by Celestia. Wait, the mayor tried to rape Nav? Twilight asked. You didn't mention that part. I didn't know that part, she said. Not until recently. Nav told me after. I received a letter. It's a moot point, because the mayor is dead. Nav killed him and got a changeling to temporarily replace him. The real point is, Celestia she's a horny old cougar who uses us as cheap labor. She made you go to Detrot so she could let Nav buck her for 2 days straight. That's kinda hot, Pinky said. Closer to disgusting, Applejack said. So yeah, ain't it our duty to deal with this? It is, Twilight slowly said. I'm just not sure, how? I mean, this is obviously too far. But we can't go to the princess and... Well, she's the only one who knows how to get to the elements. Nav's key could probably do it, but that's no longer an option. We have to do something. Fluttershy yelled. Nav is our friend. It doesn't matter if he's our friend or not, Applejack said. Nothing deserves any of what happened to him, and if the two rulers of our country are doing those kinds of things, then maybe it's time for new rulers. Whoa, hold on there, Twilight said, eyes going wide. You can't mean... Not Celestia. Celestia hid what Luna did to Nav, Applejack said. You think she'd hide what Luna did to Annapony else? Me, I'd wager yes. That's pure corruption. And evil, Dash added with a nod. We have to form a resistance. I bet the Naga would help. Pinky said, jumping in place. Nav's a member of their clan. They'd love to tangle with the princess. Before they could continue ineptly planning a coup, someone banged on the door, making everyone squeak. Moments later, it flung open and a full squad of day guards entered, followed by an extremely irate Midnight Blossom. You are all under arrest, she called out. For suspicion to hide multiple high crimes and to aid and abet a criminal. You can't be serious. Dash yelled. Look at the newspaper. Why are you arresting us and not the princesses? Luna is already behind bars and the only thing stopping Celestia from joining her is that she is Celestia. I suggest you come quietly. Shining Armor is currently at the library looking for Twilight, but he'll be heading here as soon as he discovers she's gone. So why are you arresting us? Twilight asked. Navarone told me that several of you knew some of what happened to him. I intend to discover how much each of you knew. Then you're wasting your time with Applejack and Fluttershy, Twilight said. Nav hasn't told them anything. I'm not going to call that a coincidence, Blossom said. He didn't name either. Very well, then. Applejack and Fluttershy, leave now and escape arrest. I ain't going nowhere, Applejack said, plopping right down. If you're going to Canterlot, I'm going with you. Fluttershy said. I need to yell at Celestia before I lose my will. Fine, whatever, then you're all under arrest. Did Nav seriously send you to arrest us? Dash demanded. No, he asked me not to, Blossom replied. All I promised him is that I would wait until he departed. Watcher is gone, along with all his ponies. The scout we sent to Nav's house reports that it's silent. So that means it's time for you all to come with me. We won't resist, Twilight said. And we'll tell you everything we know, which isn't as much as you'd think. We knew that Nav had trouble with the princesses, but this is horrific. The very fiber of Equestria is being challenged, Blossom sighed. The choices ponies like Captain Armor and I make in the coming days will shape the fate of the entire country going forward. Your cooperation is welcome. Guards, detain them. Several more red shirts started filing in and that's when the memory finally froze. They aren't really red shirts, Reason said. More like gold. Man, whatever, I said. So, it's nice to see the girls actually ready to go after the princesses for me. You know, until the usual tyranny kicked in and they got busted by the woman. I'm willing to bet Celestia did a little snip-snip with them too, hey. There's only so much memory modification can do, my guide said. Comforting. So what's the takeaway here? Despite what they may have thought of you as a person, all of the girls were prepared to do what was right, Reason said. Though some of them may have had hesitations about going after Celestia herself. Then they weren't prepared to do what was right, I said. Applejack was correct. Something was rotten in Equestria. That something was Princess Celestia. Get rid of her and Luna becomes putty in the hands of whoever happens to own her loyalty. Should that not be all the more reason to maintain your pull? Reason asked. No, that's retarded. I need to get rid of that thing as quickly as possible. It has brought me almost nothing but misery and agony my entire time here. I'm not sure I'll necessarily need the pull to keep everyone close. The central thing keeping your incredibly diverse crew of psychotic killers together is their intense fascination with you, Reason said. Get rid of that and all you're left with is a group of psychotic killers. Given enough time, they'll do what all psychotic killers do. If none of the people in my crew have formed any stronger bonds with anyone else in this crew at this point, then I've failed hard enough as a leader that I deserve those consequences. I'm confident that I'll maintain the crew that I have even without this bullshit pull. Minus maybe Luna, who's probably been the most affected by it. And if Luna refuses to see sense and murders you because it ruined her life. Now you're just being dramatic. I'm kinda surprised Rarity was so open with that information about what happened with her and Celestia. I figured Celestia would have done some snipping there, too. Again, it has limitations, my guide said. Things have to be recent. With Rarity, it had been almost a week. And besides, she had been in Celestia's room for 2 days. Trying to get 2 days after that long would be difficult and might result in other memory losses. To be honest, I'm surprised Celestia didn't just rip the entire month away. I can't imagine how awkward that conversation must have been. Did Rarity call her a horny old cougar to her face? Rarity is still alive, so I would assume no, Reason said. Good, then I'm gonna steal that line. So, friends do sometimes pull through, even if it is several years too late after several of them mistreated me too. So if Celestia didn't snip their memories, how did that meeting go? Individually, my guide said. Over the course of several long hours, answering quite a lot of questions until finally, she did what she does best. Oh. That manipulative bitch. Says the one who talks about manipulating her own filly, my guide said, reaching over to bop me. Which is, again, my job as a parent. Get over yourself, Flowlight. Oh, would you rather I be Aqualite? No. I'd rather you be my guide. Then shall we carry on, oh wayward one, she sarcastically replied. Yet. Her eyes flashed and on we went. End of part 2.